Survival of the fittest, or is it? What is fitness? Is it natural selection in favor of the fastest, strongest, or most clever animals? Or is fitness relative? From the Arctic tundra to the sweltering jungles, what makes an individual most likely to survive is a unique story of trial and error, a story of the fight for life itself. Let's look at the cold, unforgiving lands of the Arctic, and the most peculiar life form it bred, the penguin. With its short legs and clumsy bodies, it clearly cannot outrun a predator. If anything, its abundance of fat would make it highly caloric, and prone to be preyed upon. But in fact, the fatter the penguin, the better chance it has of survival. This is because the penguin's fat stores are what keep it warm throughout the winter. However, the most interesting evolutionary development in a penguin is its ability to swim. Have you ever wondered how something the size of a baby hippo can get itself out of the water? To understand how this works, it is crucial to examine a penguin's diving patterns. They first dive down into the water to hunt for food, but then they briefly surface the water, only to dive back down again and actually propel themselves out of the water. Though it may seem like their only motivation to momentarily breach the water is to take in oxygen, but what actually happens is much more astounding. When a penguin breaches the surface, it is actually preening or allowing oxygen to move between its feathers. The penguin, when the penguin dives back down with its newly oxygenated feathers, that oxygen gets released in the form of microbubbles when the penguin accelerates towards the surface, creating a film that greatly decreases the drag experienced in the water, and allowing the penguin to move 2 times its normal speed. Journeying to the grasslands. One of the most intriguing specimens are the giraffe, but what we will be more closely examining is not their neck, but rather their spots. It is no question that it's very hot in Africa, so the question that should be asked is how do giraffes regulate body heat? Spoiler alert, it isn't through sweat. The spots on a giraffe generate two functions, camouflage and blood circulation. Its beige exterior is designed to allow it to blend into its surrounding habitat, but its more crucial function is what goes on beneath the surface. Imagine each spot as a patch. The area surrounding each patch is a complicated system of blood vessels, and the patch itself acts as a window to release body heat. Heat radiates out of these patches rather than the surrounding area, a mechanism developed due to their inability always find water in order to lessen the impact of the blistering sun. Next is the Felidae known as the leaf insect and commonly called walking leaves. They are camouflaged as leaves and use mimicry in order to take on the appearance of a leaf, so predators are unable to tell them from real leaves. This increases their chance of surviving and reproducing. Now we come to the brightly colored creature known as the butterfly. From neutral browns is designed to allow the butterfly to camouflage into the environment, to the potential kaleidoscope of hues on its wings. The main focus of these dainty creatures are their looks. The pattern elements of butterfly wings are individuated and admit to a system of homologies that is as reliable as those of the bones of the vertebrate skeleton. Evolution of the overall wing pattern occurs by distorting and displacing these pattern elements, by changing their pigmentation, and by selectively suppressing or enlarging specific elements. The genetic and phenotype covariance between pattern elements and between different aspects of a pattern element, such as position and size, are very small or zero. These low covariances are due to developmental uncoupling of pattern elements. This produces a system in which there are relatively few developmental constraints on variation and evolution, and this may account for the enormous diversity of color patterns in this group. This is why they can easily evolve to have wings that can mimic other species or for looks alone in a short span of time. Survival of the fittest is a phrase that originated from Darwinian evolutionary theory as a way of describing the mechanism of natural selection. The biological concept in fitness is defined as reproductive success. In Darwinian terms, the phrase is best understood as survival of the form that will leave the most copies of itself in successive generations. From butterflies to birds, species all across the planet have found a unique solution to their own problems. Though it may not be efficient, one cannot argue that it's effective, otherwise they could not be studied.